Ambassador Zektar pressed his six-fingered hand against the cold metal wall of the space station. His green skin felt clammy with worry. Through the large window, he could see the empty space where 3 star systems used to be. Now only dust and radiation remained. The hegemony war had been going on for 3 years. 2 powerful groups of aliens were fighting each other across the galaxy. Millions of ships destroyed. Billions of lives lost. Entire worlds turned to ash. The emergency meeting hall buzzed with nervous energy. Representatives from 12 different alien races sat around a massive circular table. Some had fur, others had scales. Some breathed oxygen, others needed special masks. But they all shared the same fear. Commander Velanathi walked into the room. Her red armor gleamed under the station's lights. The Crimson Fleet had lost another battle last week. She needed soldiers, and she needed them fast. Honored council members, she began, her voice echoing in the chamber. We face total defeat unless we act now. Both sides are running out of troops. We need fresh recruits. Elder Krixan, the oldest member of the council, shifted in his floating chair. His ancient eyes held secrets that most beings would never know. What do you propose, Commander? Velanathi activated the hologram. A small blue and green planet appeared above the table. Sulfuri, also called Earth by its inhabitants. The species there just learned how to travel faster than light. They're perfect. The other commanders nodded eagerly. General Thoshuk from the Azure Coalition leaned forward. My thoughts exactly. Primitive weapons. Simple technology. They'll be grateful for our help. Zektar felt his heart sink. Of all the planets they could have chosen, why did it have to be Earth? Velanathi continued her presentation. These humans have been fighting wars for thousands of their years. They know combat, but they're still weak. No energy shields. No plasma weapons. They use metal bullets and chemical explosives. Laughter filled the room. The idea of metal bullets seemed funny to beings who could destroy planets with a single shot. Look at their history, General Thoshuk added. They fight over everything. Land, resources, ideas. They even fight over which invisible sky being they worship. They're natural soldiers. More nods around the table. It seemed like a perfect plan. Elder Krixan spoke slowly. Have any of you read the full file on this species? The commanders looked confused. There's more than the basic report? Asked Velanathi. Much more, said another elder, Euthandra. Her blue skin had turned pale. The classification level requires special permission to access. Zektar watched as several younger council members shifted uncomfortably. They knew something the military commanders did not. What classification? Demanded General Thoshuk. We need those soldiers now. Every day we wait, more of our people die. Elder Krixan and Zektar exchanged glances. How could they explain without revealing too much? How could they make these desperate commanders understand the danger? The motion to recruit humans is classified as level Omega, Zektar announced. All discussion is postponed indefinitely. The room erupted. Commanders from both sides of the war stood up shouting. Their translators worked overtime, filling the air with angry words in dozens of languages. This is insane, screamed Velanathi. My fleet lost half its ships last month. We're dying out there while you play politics. People are suffering, added General Thoshuk. Children are starving on refugee ships. How can you deny us this chance? Elder Euthandra raised her hand for silence. Some knowledge carries a price too high to pay. Some doors should never be opened. Riddles and mysticism, spat Commander Velanathi. While you speak in ancient wisdom, real beings are dying in real battles. Zektar looked at the hologram of Earth still floating above the table. Such a peaceful-looking world. Blue oceans, white clouds, green continents. It was hard to believe what that planet really contained. "The decision is final," he said firmly. "Sol 3 and its inhabitants are off limits to both sides of this conflict." The military commanders stormed out of the meeting. Their footsteps echoed angrily down the metal corridors. Only the council elders remained. "How long do you think we can keep this secret?" asked Elder Crixan. "Not long," replied Zektar. "They're desperate. Desperate beings do foolish things." Elder Euthandra activated her private communicator. "I'm sending additional monitoring probes to Sol System. If anyone gets too close to Earth, we need to know immediately." Through the window, another flash of light appeared in the distance. Another battle. Another 1,000 ships destroyed. The war was getting closer to their location every day. "Should we tell them the truth?" asked a younger elder named Quinksali. "Maybe if they knew the real history, they would understand. And create galaxy-wide panic?" Zekan shook his ancient head. "Bad enough that we know. Imagine if every species learned what humans really are." Zektar pulled up the classified Earth file on his personal device. The warning label flashed red. "Terran descendants' genetic memory intact. Do not provoke." Even reading those words made him feel cold. "What if the war spreads to Sol System anyway?" asked Quinksali. "What if stray battles wake them up?" "Then we pray to whatever gods still listen," replied Elder Euthandra. "And we hope 50,000 years was enough time for them to forget." Outside the window, space looked empty and peaceful. But Zektar knew better. Somewhere out there, Commander Velanati and General Thoshak were planning their next moves. The war was consuming everything in its path, and now it was moving toward a small blue planet that held secrets darker than any black hole. The meeting ended in silence. Each elder returned to their quarters, carrying the same terrible knowledge. Earth looked innocent from space, but appearances could be deceiving, very deceiving. Zektar sealed the classified files and tried to sleep. But his dreams were filled with images from the restricted archives. Images of what happened the last time humans went to war among the stars. Images he prayed no living being would ever see again. Captain Rex Uno could not sleep. His orange scales itched with frustration as he paced around his small quarters on the battleship. Doom's Edge. 3 days had passed since the council meeting. 3 days of watching his fellow soldiers die while politicians played their games. The Hegemony forces had lost another major battle yesterday. The Azure Coalition was pushing deeper into their territory. Soon they would reach the core worlds where billions of civilians lived. He activated his personal computer and stared at the Earth file again. The basic report was thin, almost too thin. A species that had been fighting wars for thousands of years, but the council treated them like they were made of glass. Something was wrong. Rex Uno was good with computers. He had to be. Military intelligence was his job. He knew how to find hidden information, how to break through security systems. The council's database had many layers of protection. Most files were easy to access. Some required special permission. But level Omega files needed codes that only the eldest council members possessed. Unless you knew how to look in the right places, Rex Uno started with simple searches. Earth, Sol 3. Humans, Terrans. That last word made his computer pause. Terrans. The search function seemed to struggle with the term. Then it displayed a single result. Access denied. Classification level Omega. But denial messages usually meant the information existed. And if it existed, it could be found. He started working backward through the council's historical archives. Not the main database, but the backup systems. The old computers that stored information from thousands of years ago. Systems that were less well protected because everyone assumed the data was unimportant. Hours passed. Rex Uno drank 3 cups of strong coffee and ignored the battle alarms that echoed through the ship. Other beings were fighting and dying while he hunted through ancient files. Then he found it, a single folder labeled Terran War Archives, Final Resolution Protocol. His claws trembled as he opened the file. The first document was a species profile, dated 50,000 years ago. The image showed a creature that looked almost exactly like a modern human. Same general shape, same features, but the eyes were different, colder, harder. The text made his blood freeze. Species name, Terran. Classification, apex predator, sentient. Threat level, extinction class. Status, active extermination campaign. Rex Uno scrolled down, reading faster. The Terran Empire has conquered 47 star systems in the past century. Their military doctrine, which they call total war, involves the complete conversion of civilian populations into combat forces. Every citizen becomes a soldier. Every factory becomes a weapons plant. Every ship becomes a weapon. The report continued with details that made no sense. How could any species be so focused on warfare? Terrans have achieved a 100% victory rate in naval engagements. They do not retreat. They do not surrender. When faced with certain defeat, they prefer to destroy their own ships rather than be captured. Interrogation of survivors has proven impossible due to biological modifications that prevent memory extraction. Rex Uno found video files and played them. The screen filled with images of space battles from 50,000 years ago. Terran ships looked strange. Not smooth and elegant like modern vessels, but rough and practical. They moved like living. Creatures twisting and diving in ways that should have been impossible. But what shocked him most was their tactics. The Terrans did not fight like civilized beings. They used tactics that violated every rule of war. They turned asteroids into weapons. They poisoned entire planets. They created diseases that could kill any species. One battle report showed Terran forces facing overwhelming odds. 12 alien fleets surrounded a single Terran world. The aliens demanded surrender. The Terrans responded by turning their own planet into a weapon. They cracked the planet's core and used the explosion to destroy half the attacking fleets. The other half retreated in terror. Note, the report added, this was the third time Terrans destroyed their own world rather than surrender. Survivors were relocated to backup colonies. Rex Uno kept reading through the night. Each document was more frightening than the last. The Terrans had developed weapons that could destroy suns. They created diseases that could evolve and adapt faster than any cure. They built machines that could turn entire solar systems into factories. But the most terrifying thing was their minds. Psychological profile. Terrans appear incapable of accepting defeat. When faced with superior force, they do not negotiate or retreat. Instead, they adapt and overcome. They study their enemies and find weaknesses that no other species would consider exploiting. One report described how Terrans defeated an enemy fleet by hacking into their computer systems and convincing the ships. Artificial intelligence that their own crews were hostile invaders. Another described how they ended a siege by teaching the enemy's children to sing songs that contained embedded psychological triggers, causing the adults to become depressed and surrender without fighting. The Terran military operates on the assumption that anything can be weaponized. They have been observed using art, music, food, weather, gravity, time, and even mathematics as weapons of war. Rex Uno found the final battle report, the one that ended the Terran War. It had taken 12 different species working together to defeat the Terran Empire, not destroy it. Just force it to accept exile. The cost had been enormous. Millions of ships destroyed. Hundreds of worlds abandoned. Entire star systems declared. Permanently unsafe due to Terran weapons that continued to function long after the war ended. The exile agreement was simple. The Terrans would be relocated to a single star system at the edge of the galaxy. A barrier field would prevent them from leaving. In exchange, the Alliance would not attempt to destroy them completely. The Terran delegation agreed to these terms on one condition, the final report stated. They requested Sol System specifically. When asked why, their representative stated, "We like the yellow sun. It reminds us of home." The barriers around Sol System had been maintained for 49,000 years. Constant monitoring. Automatic defenses. Warning beacons that would alert the galaxy if anything tried to leave. Then Rex Uno found the most recent file. Barrier field deactivation. Year 47,432 post-exile. Authorization. Elder Council Emergency Protocol 7. Reason. Energy costs becoming unsustainable. Risk assessment. Minimal. Terran population has shown no spacefaring activity for 5,000 years. Species appears to have evolved beyond aggressive tendencies. The barriers had been turned off 500 years ago. Rex Uno checked the monitoring reports from the past few decades. Humans had developed primitive spaceflight. They had built small stations. They had even started exploring their neighboring planets, but they had also done something else. They had created thousands of fictional stories about war. Movies, books, games, all focused on combat and invasion. They'd practiced fighting imaginary enemies from space. As if they were preparing. As if they remembered. Rex Uno closed the files and sat in darkness. Outside his window, the stars looked different now. Less friendly. More dangerous. Somewhere out there, Commander Velanathy and General Thashuk were probably still planning to recruit human forces. They had no idea what they were about to wake up. He activated his communicator to call the council. Then stopped. Who would believe him? And even if they did, was it already too late? The war was spreading. Soon it would reach Sol System whether anyone wanted it to or not. And when it did, the galaxy would remember why some species should never be disturbed. The first alien ships appeared over Earth on a Tuesday morning. Dr. Sarah Chun was drinking coffee in her office at the United Nations building when every phone in the room started ringing at once. Through her window, she could see people on the streets pointing up at the sky. 3 massive ships hung in the atmosphere above New York City. They were beautiful in a terrifying way. Red metal that seemed to flow like liquid. Weapons that could probably destroy the entire city in seconds. The ships broadcast a message in perfect English. People of Earth, we are the Crimson Fleet. We come in peace to offer you a great opportunity. Sarah grabbed her emergency phone and called the Secretary General. Around the world, similar scenes played out as more alien ships appeared over major capitals. The message continued, your galaxy is at war. 2 great powers struggle for survival. We offer you advanced technology, interstellar travel, and membership in our alliance. In return, we ask only for your military service. Sarah felt her heart racing. Humanity's first contact with alien life, and they were asking for soldiers. The Crimson Fleet ships landed in designated areas. Tall aliens in red armor emerged, carrying advanced weapons. They set up meeting areas and invited human leaders to negotiate. But before anyone could respond, more ships appeared. These were blue and silver, sleek as knives cutting through clouds. The Azure Coalition had arrived. Citizens of Earth, their message began. Do not listen to the lies of the Crimson Fleet. We offer you true partnership, advanced science, and prosperity among the stars. Join the Azure Coalition and help us bring peace to the galaxy. Within hours, both alien factions had established bases on Earth. The Crimson Fleet controlled areas near military installations. The Azure Coalition set up near major cities and universities. Sarah was chosen to lead Earth's response team. She had spent years studying interplanetary law and diplomacy, never imagining she would actually need to use that knowledge. The first meeting took place in Geneva. Commander Velanathi represented the Crimson Fleet. General Thoshuk spoke for the Azure Coalition. Both aliens were impressive and intimidating. "Your species has great potential," Commander Velanathi explained. "We have studied your military history. You understand warfare better than most peaceful races." General Thoshuk nodded in agreement. The Azure Coalition recognizes humanity's strategic value. With proper training and equipment, human forces could turn the tide of this war. Sarah looked at both aliens calmly. "We appreciate your offers, but Earth has a different proposal." Both commanders seemed surprised. "We suggest ending this war through negotiation," Sarah continued. "Earth offers to mediate talks between your factions. We have experience resolving conflicts without violence." The room fell silent. Commander Velanathi was the first to speak. "You misunderstand the situation. This is not a diplomatic dispute. This is total war for survival." "Exactly," added General Thoshuk. "One side must be completely defeated. Peace is impossible." Sarah maintained her diplomatic smile. "We believe every conflict can be resolved through discussion." We decline both offers of military alliance. The aliens exchanged looks that humans couldn't interpret. "Perhaps you need time to consider," said Commander Velanathi. "We will give you 3 standard days to make the correct choice." The meeting ended badly. Sarah reported back to the UN Security Council. Military leaders around the world went to high alert. But 3 days was not enough time for the aliens. Reports came in of strange activities near both landing sites. The Crimson Fleet was scanning human military bases. The Azure Coalition was downloading internet data about human technology and population centers. Then the accidents started happening. A Crimson Fleet shuttle crashed near a small town in Colorado. Local police who responded to help were told to leave immediately. When they refused, alien soldiers pointed weapons at them. An Azure Coalition team tried to take soil samples from a farmer's field in France. When the farmer objected, they stunned him with some kind of energy weapon. Within 24 hours, both alien factions made the same decision. If humans wouldn't cooperate voluntarily, they would be forced to cooperate. The first landing parties hit military targets around the world. Alien soldiers with advanced weapons attacked air bases and naval facilities. They used stunner weapons that were supposed to be non-lethal. The aliens expected quick surrender from a primitive species with chemical projectile weapons. They were very wrong. The attack on Ramstein airbase in Germany lasted exactly 43 minutes. Crimson Fleet troops landed expecting to face confused humans with outdated weapons. Instead, they found humans who had been preparing for alien invasion scenarios for decades. Science fiction movies, books, and video games had taught an entire generation exactly how to fight technologically superior invaders. The human defenders didn't try to match alien technology. They used tactics that the aliens had never encountered. They collapsed buildings to create choke points. They used improvised explosives hidden in everyday objects. They attacked supply lines and communication systems. Most importantly, they refused to fight fair. While Crimson Fleet soldiers tried to maintain formation and follow proper military protocols, humans crawled through sewers, hid in abandoned buildings, and attacked from unexpected directions. The aliens had better weapons, but humans knew the territory. Within an hour, the entire Crimson Fleet landing force was either dead or captured. Similar scenes played out around the world. Azure Coalition forces attacked a naval base in Japan and disappeared completely. Human defenders didn't just win. They made the alien forces vanish without a trace. But the real shock came later. Dr. Elena Vasquez, a computer specialist at MIT, had been monitoring alien communication signals. She discovered that human hackers had already broken into both alien computer networks. It took them less than 6 hours. How is this possible? Demanded Commander Valanathy during an emergency communication with her fleet. Answer came from a 17-year-old high school student in Seoul who had treated the alien encryption like a video game puzzle. Their security assumes everyone thinks like them, he explained to news reporters. But humans assume everything can be hacked. We don't trust our own systems, so we definitely don't trust theirs. Within days, human-computer experts were inside both alien fleet networks. They weren't just stealing information. They were planting viruses, changing navigation data, and causing alien ships to malfunction. The aliens retreated to orbit, but it was too late. Humans had tasted alien technology. They had seen what was possible, and they wanted more. Amateur RADIO operators around the world began intercepting alien communications. University students reverse-engineered captured alien weapons. Military engineers started modifying human spacecraft with alien technology taken from crashed ships. Most disturbing of all, humans began working together in ways the aliens had never seen. Countries that had been enemies for centuries started sharing information about alien technology. Military forces that usually competed began coordinating their responses. It was as if the alien invasion had awakened something in human nature, something that had been sleeping for a very long time. Commander Valanathy sent a desperate message to the Galactic Council. Request immediate evacuation support. Human forces are more capable than intelligence reports suggested. Recommend avoiding Sol system until further analysis. General Thashuk sent a similar message. Azure Coalition forces unable to establish control over Earth population. Humans display unusual tactical adaptability. Request emergency consultation with xenopsychology experts. But the Council was far away, and the hegemony war was still raging. The alien commanders would have to solve the human problem themselves. They had no idea how big a problem it really was. Dr. Elena Vasquez had not slept for 3 days. Her laboratory at MIT looked like a war zone. Computer screens covered every wall, displaying streams of data that made no sense to anyone else. But Elena was beginning to understand. The alien invasion had changed something in humanity. Not just their attitude or their unity. Something physical. Something in their blood. It started with the soldiers who had fought the alien landing forces. Blood tests showed unusual hormone levels, increased adrenaline, higher brain activity in areas related to tactical thinking, faster reflexes. Then civilians began showing the same changes. It's spreading, Elena told Dr. James Morrison, her research partner. Whatever this is, it's affecting humans worldwide. James stared at the genetic analysis on his screen. These DNA sequences weren't active before. I've been studying human genetics for 20 years. These gene clusters were dormant. Elena highlighted a section of the data. Look at this protein structure. It's like nothing we've ever seen. But it's definitely human origin. Around the world, similar discoveries were being made. Humans were changing, evolving, becoming something new. But the real breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Maria Santos had been having strange dreams since the aliens arrived. Dreams of battles in space. Dreams of weapons that could tear apart planets. Dreams of tactics and strategies for wars she had never fought. She was not a soldier. She worked in a flower shop in Mexico City. But the dreams felt more real than her waking life. When Maria mentioned her experiences during a government interview, psychologists dismissed it as stress. Until they discovered that thousands of other humans were having identical dreams. Dr. Sarah Chun, now leading Earth's response to the alien crisis, authorized an emergency research program. Scientists around the world began studying the dream phenomenon. What they discovered changed everything. The dreams were not random. They were memories. Genetic memories stored in human DNA for thousands of generations. It's like a biological hard drive, Elena explained during a video conference with world leaders. Human DNA contains compressed information about warfare, tactics, and technology, but it only activates under extreme stress. President Martinez of the Global Defense Council leaned forward. You're saying humans have military knowledge programmed into their genes? More than that, James added. We're saying humans are descended from a warrior species that stored everything they learned about combat in their genetic code. The evidence was overwhelming. As stress hormones spread through the human population, dormant gene sequences activated. People began remembering things they had never learned. Factory workers instinctively knew how to modify production lines for weapons manufacturing. Computer programmers understood encryption methods that hadn't been invented yet. Even children began drawing designs for spacecraft that actually worked. But the most dramatic changes happened to the humans who had direct contact with alien technology. Captain Maria Rodriguez had been leading the defense of the Madrid spaceport when Azure Coalition forces attacked. During the battle, she was exposed to alien energy weapons that should have killed her. Instead, they triggered something in her DNA. Maria began changing. Her muscles became denser. Her reflexes faster. Her brain processed information at superhuman speed. She could see in the dark and hold her breath for 20 minutes. Most importantly, she could interface directly with alien technology just by touching it. It's like the machines recognize me, she explained to amazed scientists. As if they were built for humans to use. Similar transformations began occurring worldwide. Humans exposed to alien technology evolved rapidly to use it. Their bodies adapted within hours instead of generations. The International Space Station became the center of a new kind of research. Astronauts began modifying their own biology using techniques that somehow felt familiar. They grew extra organs for processing oxygen in space. They developed natural radiation shielding. They changed their bone density to handle zero gravity better. None of them knew how they knew these techniques. The knowledge just appeared in their minds when they needed it. Dr. Elena discovered the truth by accident while analyzing her own blood. She had been working with alien computer systems for weeks, trying to understand their programming. My DNA is rewriting itself, she announced during an emergency meeting. The genetic information isn't just activating. It's updating itself based on new experiences. The implications were staggering. Humans weren't just remembering their warlike past. They were actively evolving to fight a war in the present. Military leaders around the world began coordinating humanity's response. But they discovered they didn't need to coordinate much. Humans were naturally organizing themselves into an efficient war machine. Children, who had never seen a spaceship, began designing better engines. Artists created camouflage patterns that confused alien sensors. Musicians composed sounds that disrupted enemy communication systems. It was as if the entire human species had become a single military organism. First human offensive began at the asteroid mining stations between Mars and Jupiter. Human engineers had been converting mining ships into weapons for weeks. Now, they had a fleet. But these weren't the clumsy spacecraft that aliens expected from a primitive species. Human ships looked organic. They moved like living creatures. They seemed to anticipate enemy tactics before the aliens made their decisions. How are they doing this? Commander Velanathi demanded as her scouts reported impossible maneuvers by human vessels. The answer came from captured human prisoners. Except the humans couldn't be held prisoner. Every human captured by alien forces somehow escaped within hours. They could hack any lock, bypass any security system, and resist any form of mental interrogation. When General Thoshuk tried to scan a human prisoner's mind, the human's brain generated feedback that crashed the scanning equipment. "They're not just resistant to our technology," he reported to his superiors. "They're actively hostile to it. Their minds treat our systems like an infection." The most terrifying discovery came when aliens tried to use their biological weapons against human targets. Humans didn't die. They adapted. A Crimson Fleet bioweapon designed to attack human nervous systems instead triggered new mutations. Humans developed natural immunity within hours and began producing antibodies that could cure other species. An Azure Coalition virus that should have destroyed human DNA actually repaired genetic damage and extended human lifespan. "They're weaponizing our weapons against us," a panicked alien researcher reported. "Every attack makes them stronger." The Galactic Council received increasingly desperate communications from both war fleets. "Request immediate consultation on Terran species," Commander Velanathi transmitted. "Human forces display capabilities not present in original intelligence reports. Emergency xenobiological analysis needed," General Thoshuk added. "Human adaptation rate exceeds all known evolutionary models." But the Council's response was limited to a single message: retreat from Sol System immediately. Implement full quarantine protocols. Do not engage human forces under any circumstances. The message arrived too late. Human ships were already leaving Earth orbit. They moved in formations that seemed random but created perfect tactical coverage. They carried weapons that aliens couldn't understand and armor that adapted to enemy fire. Most importantly, they were crewed by humans who had stopped being entirely human. Elena looked at her reflection in the laboratory mirror. Her eyes had changed color. Her fingers were longer, better suited for handling complex controls. Her brain processed information faster than any computer she had ever used. She wasn't alone. Across Earth, millions of humans were evolving into something new. Something designed for war among the stars. The genetic memories weren't just activating. They were taking control, and somewhere in those ancient memories, buried in 50,000 years of dormant code, was knowledge that would terrify even the Galactic Council. Knowledge of what humans could become when they stopped pretending to be peaceful. Ambassador Zektar watched the emergency broadcast with growing horror. The message had been transmitted across the entire galaxy on every known communication frequency. "People of the galaxy," the voice said calmly. "This is Sarah Chun, speaking for the unified government of Earth. We regret that first contact with our species occurred during wartime. We are prepared to discuss peaceful solutions to the current galactic conflict." The image showed a human woman sitting at a simple desk. Behind her stood other humans, but they had changed. Their eyes held an intelligence that seemed far older than their years. Their movements were precise and controlled in ways that suggested hidden strength. "However," Sarah continued, "recent attacks on our homeworld require an immediate response. Effective immediately, Earth claims jurisdiction over this war." Zektar felt his blood turn cold. Around the galaxy, every military commander and political leader was probably having the same reaction. "What does that mean?" demanded General Thoshuk, broadcasting from his flagship. "You cannot claim jurisdiction over a galactic war. You're barely spacefaring." Sarah's expression didn't change. "General Thoshuk of the Azure Coalition. Commander Velanathi of the Crimson Fleet. You have 72 hours to begin withdrawal from all contested systems. Failure to comply will result in direct intervention." Commander Velanathi laughed, her voice echoing through communication channels across her fleet. "Direct intervention? With what forces?" "You have perhaps a dozen primitive spacecraft." Sarah touched something off-screen. The view changed to show space around Earth. The alien commanders stopped laughing. Hundreds of ships surrounded the planet. But these weren't the crude vessels that humans had possessed a month ago. These ships looked grown rather than built. Their hulls seemed to shift and change as they moved. They flew in patterns that violated known laws of physics. How? Whispered General Thashuk. Humans adapt quickly, Sarah replied. We've been studying your technology, improving it. We've also been reviewing our own genetic heritage. Turns out our ancestors left us some useful information. Zektar activated his emergency communicator and sent a priority message to both warfleets. Retreat immediately. Do not engage. Implement full quarantine protocols around Sol System. But Commander Velanathi was too angry to listen to warnings from politicians. All ships, attack formation. We'll show these primitives the price of threatening civilized beings. The Crimson Fleet moved toward Earth with weapons charged. 67 warships against a few hundred human vessels. The aliens expected an easy victory. Instead, they found themselves fighting an enemy that seemed to know their every move before they made it. Human ships didn't just dodge alien weapons. They positioned themselves exactly where the weapons would miss. They attacked weak points that aliens didn't know they had. They used tactics that turned alien strengths into weaknesses. The battle lasted 18 minutes. When it ended, the entire Crimson Fleet was either destroyed or captured. Not a single human ship was seriously damaged. Impossible, breathed General Thashuk, watching the tactical data. How did they anticipate our maneuvers? His answer came from his own ship's computer system. Human hackers had been inside Azure Coalition networks for weeks. They had studied every battle plan, every tactical doctrine, every weakness in alien technology. But more than that, they had learned. Captain Maria Rodriguez, now commanding the human ship Determination, sent a message to the surviving alien forces. Your weapons are based on principles we taught the galaxy 50,000 years ago. Did you really think we forgot how to counter them? The truth hit both alien commanders at the same time. Terrans, whispered Commander Velanathi from her escape pod. They're Terrans. General Thashuk immediately ordered full retreat. But human ships were already surrounding his fleet. They didn't attack. They just waited. General, came a calm human voice over the communication system. We need to talk. The conversation that followed broke every rule of military engagement. Instead of demanding surrender, the humans wanted to understand the political situation that had caused the war. Dr. Elena Vasquez, now serving as Earth's chief science officer, interviewed captured alien officers. But her methods were unlike anything aliens had experienced. She didn't use torture or mind-reading technology. She used empathy. Tell me about your home, she said to a captured Crimson Fleet officer. Tell me what you're fighting for. Within hours, Elena understood the entire galactic conflict better than most beings who had lived through it. The war hadn't started over territory or resources. It had started over fear. Each side believed the other intended to destroy them completely. Each battle made the fear worse. Each loss demanded revenge. It was a cycle that had been going on for years, consuming entire civilizations. This is fixable, Elena reported to Sarah. But it requires both sides to stop fighting long enough to remember why they started. Sarah nodded. Then we'll make them stop. The next phase of human operations shocked the galaxy. Instead of destroying the remaining war fleets, human forces began forcing them to work together. When Crimson Fleet and Azure Coalition ships tried to attack each other, human vessels intervened. They disabled weapons without destroying ships. They blocked attacks without taking sides. What are you doing? Demanded both alien commanders. Ending this war, Sarah replied during a three-way communication. You've forgotten how to stop fighting, so we're stopping it for you. Ambassador Zektar watched from the Galactic Council chamber as reports came in from across the galaxy. Human ships were appearing in every major battle zone. Not to fight, but to separate the warring fleets, and they were succeeding. Human technology seemed specifically designed to neutralize alien weapons without causing permanent damage. Their tactics focused on ending conflicts rather than winning them. How long can they maintain this? Asked Elder Crixon. Zector studied the deployment reports. Indefinitely. They're not just using superior technology. They're using superior strategy. Instead of fighting both sides, they're making both sides irrelevant. The breaking point came when human forces surrounded the Azure Coalition's main supply base. Instead of attacking, they began broadcasting on all frequencies. Citizens of the galaxy, Sarah's voice carried to every ship, every station, every inhabited world. This war has continued long enough. Too many beings have died for causes that no longer serve anyone's interests. The image showed Sarah standing before the emergency session of the Galactic Council. Behind her were representatives from both warring factions, looking uncomfortable but unharmed. Earth offers the following solution, she continued. All military operations will cease within 30 standard days. Both sides will return to pre-war borders. Disputed territories will be administered by neutral parties until permanent solutions can be negotiated. And if we refuse? Challenged General Thoshuk. Sarah's expression remained calm, but the humans behind her shifted slightly. Their eyes showed depths of knowledge that made even experienced warriors nervous. Then we will end this war for you, she said simply. We have learned from our ancestors' mistakes. We will not repeat the errors that led to our exile 50,000 years ago. Ambassador Zektar stood up in the council chamber. His voice echoed across the galaxy as he spoke the words that would become legendary. Get away from Earth in this war. All military forces must withdraw from Sol System immediately. The Terrans have returned, and they are not the same species we exiled. But even as he spoke, Zektar knew it was too late. Humanity had tasted the galaxy again. This time, they weren't interested in conquest. They were interested in something far more dangerous. They wanted to fix things. We've analyzed your governmental systems, Dr. Elena announced during the final negotiations. We've studied your economic models. We've reviewed your military doctrines. They're all based on conflict and competition. She activated a holographic display showing galactic civilization patterns. Our ancestors were wrong to try ruling through fear. But you're wrong to think that chaos is better than order. What are you proposing? Asked Elder Yathandra carefully. Sarah stood up, flanked by humans whose genetic modifications made them look like living weapons. But their words offered something no one expected. Partnership, she said. Not conquest. Not domination. We want to help build a galaxy where wars like this become impossible. And if species refuse your help? Asked Zektar. Sarah's smile was gentle, but absolutely terrifying. We're very persuasive. The final agreement was signed 3 days later. Both warring factions agreed to the human peace proposal. Not because they wanted to, but because they had seen what happened to forces that opposed human diplomacy. Opposition simply became irrelevant. As the council session ended, Zektar realized the galaxy had changed forever. Humans hadn't conquered it through violence, they had conquered it through competence. And unlike their ancestors, these humans seemed to understand that true power meant knowing when not to use it. The children of Terra had come home. This time, they planned to stay.